Yo, this is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on a very special dose, a Sunday dose of Chalking Up Sports, where no matter if we win or we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Always grateful to be here in the presence of the beautiful people. Make sure you guys lock in. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys get comfortable. You know the vibes, you know the energy, you know how sticky it gets. You know how we carry it here at Chalking Up Sports. Always grateful to be here with you guys. We're going to get right to the talks, man. I have a special guest coming on at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And that's going to be 12 p.m. Central time, 11 a.m. Mountain time, and 10 a.m. Pacific time. That may be 8 a.m. in Hawaiian time, and that may be 7 a.m. In Alaskan time. But regardless, we're trying to serve all the people, man, no matter where you are on this globe, no matter where you are in this country, or maybe you're international. No matter where you are, we're trying to serve you. Make sure you turn those subtitles on if you don't understand English, because the vibes is always going to be electric. And best believe, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you're going to feel me. So I appreciate you guys for being here. You know the energy. Please make sure you guys smash that like button before you get too comfortable, before you take your shoes off, before you go to the fridge to get something to drink. Make sure you go say hi to grandma upstairs, okay? Go say hi to your grandmother. She ain't seen you in a while, all right? Before you even make a plate, go say hi to your grandmother. Make sure you guys smash that like button before you get too comfortable here at Chalk It Up Sports. I always love newcomers. I'm grateful to people who watch this show on their own time, as a matter of fact, right? Some people can't catch the show live. And I really appreciate you guys for locking in when you do. So make sure you guys always double back and check out the content. You guys have been going crazy this weekend. You guys have been locked in on everything I've been putting out. The views have been going up. The subscribers have been going up. The support has been going up. And I'm just grateful to be here with you guys. Again, not going to waste your time today. We're going to get right to the shenanigans. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know something. We have a special update when it comes to Chalk It Up Sports and how you can find the content, right? Officially, Chalk It Up Sports is now available on Spotify and now available on Apple Podcasts. So if you want to check out the content, if you want to watch your boy in various formats, maybe you're a trucker, right? Maybe you're at work and you can't keep YouTube open in your pocket, right? Because sometimes YouTube has a mind of its own. Unless you pay for YouTube Premium or YouTube Red, whatever it used to be called, you can't play YouTube unless you have the app open. So now you can watch the content on your own time in various formats. The show is always going to be uploaded on Spotify. I want to say an hour or two after the show. So just know that whenever I go live, I'm going to upload the show on the Spotify and Apple Podcasts within the hour afterwards. Okay, so just make sure you guys lock in on that. I want to make sure I'm serving everybody. Some people drive trucks. Some people drive for Amazon, right? Some people drive for UPS. Maybe you work with your hands at your job, and maybe you need to keep your phone in your pocket, right? I just want to make sure I'm serving everybody. And YouTube Red, you 63 mortars. Hey, listen, we ain't talking about Red 2, man. You taking it way back, man. You taking it way back. Keep it clean. Keep it PG. Make sure you guys lock in on that. Again, it's available on Spotify now, and it's available on Apple Podcasts. So, again, you guys have been asking, and I've been doing my best to make sure I can serve you guys any way possible. So just make sure you guys know and understand that the podcast, the show, is available on Spotify, and it's also available on Apple Podcasts. You can get that however you get that, all right? Now, let's get to the shenanigans. Let's get to the topics at hand, all right? I appreciate you guys for being here. Miguel Lara, Austin, 63 Mortis, Nino Brown, Jason Bennett, Fanny, what's going on? JDM Life, Keisha White, Little G Griffith, Cody, Davon Tyree, C to the Aura. What's going on, y'all? Appreciate y'all for being here. So here's the topic. Time work, what's going on? What's going on? And we're also going to promote this throughout the show, okay? Maybe some people may not catch it, but we're going to let you guys know continuously that the show is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and the show will always be uploaded within the hour after the show, okay? So I have some topics on hand. Before my guest gets here, I have a special guest coming on at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Central. Before we get to my guest, right, I have some things I want to address with you guys. You know, we've addressed the secondary and our concerns and our optimism for them. We've addressed the defensive line and our concerns and our optimism with them, right? We've addressed secondary. We've addressed defensive line. We have yet to address linebacker concerns. And rightfully so, that should be the group we're most worried about. And I think it's because we've been scarred, Philadelphia. I think it's because we've seen so much mediocre linebacker play over the past several years, or to put it frankly, we haven't had consistent linebacker play. Like I said, some fans have their concerns with the defensive line. Fair enough. Some fans have their fair share of concerns regarding the secondary. Fair enough. But I think we all share those similar concerns as it pertains to the Eagles linebackers. And you guys, this isn't going to be a snooze fest. This isn't going to be me trying to break your heart. This is going to be me trying to find that silver lining while still keeping it real with you guys and acknowledging the reality. And don't worry, 007. We're going to talk about him. You see, the Eagles, they don't have a stable history or a reliable history when it comes to linebacker play. We've had moments, we've had glimpses, right? We could think of guys that we've come across in history that have blessed the Philadelphia Eagles with their linebacker play, right? We can speak on TJ Edwards, who was an undrafted guy who we developed and turned into a solid player. You know, TJ Edwards, he had his limitations. He had his quirks to his game, but he was reliable. He was stable. He knew what to do and where to be. And then prior to that, let's say we got maybe a short stint of reliability from Nigel Bradham. Remember that? Or remember we got a little bit of stability from Jordan Hicks, but he couldn't stay healthy. You know, remember the Michael Kendricks moment? He was okay, right? You know, then beyond that, you got to go far back to when we had D'Amico Ryans for a little bit that one season. Remember we had TKO Spikes for that one season? And then you go further back, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. You feel what I'm saying? Remember when we had guys like Stuart Bradley? Remember that? The linebacker. Then you go further than that, the Seth Joyners of the world. The Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner. You feel what I'm saying? There hasn't really been a stable history. Then we bring up names like Anthony Morrow or Nicholas Morrow. And then we Shaq Leonard and what else? Nate Gary. You know, I can go on and on about how bad the Eagles linebackers have been. It's been inconsistent, right? We had that little moment with Kaiser White that was pretty solid. Limitations, of course, but he was solid. You feel what I'm saying? Remember the Davion Taylors of the world, no longer in the NFL. The Eagles haven't had a stable history of linebacker play. They just haven't. And frankly, it's been mediocre and it's been inconsistent. And when we thought we had a long-term answer, Harry Roseman refused to pay him. And I'm going to get to your comments. I'm going to get to your super chats. Firstborn second, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys. He says, and he gave me the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, good brother. I appreciate you. He said, salute to you, Tone. I called you the Youngwood Harris. I got that a lot in high school. They used to call me Julius back in the day. Thank you, firstborn second, and I'll revisit that super chat as well. I appreciate that. But we thought we had a long-term answer at the position, right? We thought we had a guy in TJ Edwards. Harry refused to extend him long-term. He refused to pay him. He refused to invest in the guy after you developed him from being an undrafted player. So when it comes down to it, we have only one person to look at. Harry Roseman. Harry Roseman has to bear the weight of it all. He has to carry the weight of not investing in that position the way he's supposed to. He has to wear that. That's on his jacket. He has not invested in the position in the draft in terms of high draft picks. We haven't drafted a linebacker in the second round or the first round since when? Right? The highest we've drafted a linebacker was what, third round? And that was Davion Taylor or Nakobe Dean. That's the highest we've drafted guys in a while. Nakobe Dean is still on the roster. We're going to get to him. Davion Taylor no longer in the NFL. So we have one person to look at as to why the linebacker position has been so unstable, why it's been so abysmal. The position, quite frankly, has been held together by tape and super glue. But now, there just may be promise. There just may be optimism. There just may be a silver lining as it pertains to the current state of the linebacker position. The linebacker core in 2024 currently consists of Devin White, Zack Baun, Nakobe Dean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Ben Van Sumeren, and Oren Burks. And at face value, we may look at that linebacker room and say to ourselves, Tone, talented, but there's question marks. All these guys got something to prove, but it's question marks. We know they're hungry. We know they know the history of the position in this city. But there's still question marks. There's still something that we have to get over. We can't put our full trust in this position group, not yet. No matter how optimistic I am about the season, no matter how optimistic I am about this defense, I think this defense will eventually be a top 13, top 12 defense before the season is over. I do think that. I think Vic Fangio was going to bring a certain flavor to this defense that we've been missing. I do believe some of these guys are going to turn the page on their careers. I do believe some of these guys are going to take a step forward. I do believe that, but they have to prove it, and I don't know if I trust them quite yet, Philadelphia. I don't know if I trust them quite yet, world. I don't know. Let's just take it step by step. Let's take it player by player. Devin White. Devin White formerly played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former Pro Bowler, former Super Bowl champion. Talented, young, athletic. But he's fallen out of favor over the past couple seasons during his time at Tampa Bay. And now he's trying to revitalize his career with the Philadelphia Eagles. He says he came here and took less money because he knew what his worth was and he wanted to prove it. Can Devin White revitalize? Can he inject some life into his young NFL career? He's 5 years deep in this thing, entering his 6th season. He's a veteran. Can he turn things around? Can he earn the trust of Philadelphia? Can he regain favor in the NFL? I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles will extend him beyond this year, regardless of the result. But can he put himself in position to get a decent contract? Maybe a 3-year extension somewhere else? A 3-year contract somewhere? Can he put himself in position to earn the respect of his peers again? To earn the respect of the NFL again? Because they talk down on him. They speak about his limitations in coverage. They spoke down on him in Tampa. How he wasn't a team first guy, whatever it may be. Can he switch the narrative? Can he turn things around? We will see. Can he prove he can still play this game on a high level? We will see. And then you get to Zack Baun. Zack Baun, who's been a perennial special teamer. Zack Baun doesn't really have too much bad news out there about him. But the reality is Zack Baun has been a perennial special teamer. He's not really been a starter in this NFL during his time in New Orleans. He's another guy who's pretty early in his career, but one of those older young guys, right? I think Zack Baun is 26, maybe 27, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Wisconsin player. Can he prove that he's starter level? Can he prove that he's taking strides in his career? He had a decent stretch towards the end of the 2023 season with the Saints, those final 5 or 6 games, he put up some decent numbers. He was all over the field. Used them in the pass rush, dropped the back in coverage, pass deflections, interceptions, sacks. He got around a little bit, but can he prove he can start all 17 games if that happens to be his future? Let's take it further. Nakobe Dean, the people's champ, the one y'all love so much. Nakobe Dean, the Georgia product. I want to give him some bail, though. He got no playing time in his rookie year. Understandably so. TJ Edwards, Kaiser White was right there. No playing time. But his second season, he comes in. They give him every opportunity to be the starter. They gave him every opportunity to be a starter. He can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. Ended up on IR twice. Shut down for the rest of the season. So now he enters year 3. Remember, he's a 3rd-round pick. No 5th-year option. He enters year 3 with some pressure on him. It's about time you start showing improvement, fella. It's about time you start showing why they drafted you where they drafted you. It's about time you start showing people why they should have never passed on you in the draft. Nakobe Dean has been given every opportunity to prove himself as a starter. He's been given every opportunity. Now, he's been healthy throughout training camp, throughout preseason. He's going into the regular season healthy. Can he hold up? Remember, last year, he didn't make it through training camp and preseason healthy that much. He had some nicks and bruises. And then it just continued to snowball downhill. But can he stay healthy? You're healthy now. We'll see what Nakobe Dean has. Will he end up being a starter before the season's out? We never know. And then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Oh, y'all love him a lot. Y'all love some Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Understandably so. He's the legacy product. We know who his dad is. We know what his dad's done in this league. Now, they play the position entirely differently, but we know what his dad's done in this league. His dad, the name, Trotter, has the respect in Philadelphia. But can he live up to the lineage? Will he be able to carve out his own path and prove he's more than just his draft position? Can he prove that he's more than just a name on the back of the jersey? That's the challenge for Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He has to cement his own legacy. He has to prove that he's bigger than just the name on the jersey. He has to prove that he deserves more respect than just what his dad's done. And I think he understands that. I think he does. Let's transition to the rotational guys, the guys who are on the bottom of the depth chart when it comes to linebackers, right? And we have a special guest coming on in about 9 minutes. Make sure you guys lock in. Oren Burks. Oren Burks, 6-year NFL vet who's played on great defenses in his career, although limited snaps, but played on pretty good defenses in Green Bay and the past 2 seasons in San Francisco. You know, you don't make the roster in San Francisco, and you're not the backup linebacker to guys like Fred Warner and Kinlaw if you can't play. Or is it Greenlaw? I don't know. But you don't back up those guys. You don't rotate with those guys if you can't play. You don't make the San Francisco 49ers roster if you can't play, if you don't have any sort of traits that they like. But Oren Burks, his role on this team will likely be limited. He'll likely be just a special teamer for the most part. Too many people, too many bodies ahead of him. But can he show some value? Can he earn himself another contract somewhere else for the next season? Can he be can he be somebody that we look at and say, ooh, Oren Burks on special teams? I trust him. I trust him on special teams. He lays the wood. You feel what I'm saying? Can he prove value and elevate his value? Let's go beyond Oren Burks. The young blood. Undrafted player in 2023. The Eagles gave him a shot. He took it. And even played well enough in training camp and preseason this year to earn a spot on the 53-man roster. He's given us flashes. He's shown us some ability in coverage. He's shown us his tackling ability, right? His ability in the run game. Rangy player, very fast. But he's someone that's regularly fought for his spot throughout his football career. Had to fight for time at Michigan. Things didn't work out there. Transferred to Michigan State. Had his best year his senior year. And managed to leverage that into a very young NFL career. We'll see how long it lasts. We like his instincts. We've seen flashes of it. But he's a developmental piece. And our expectations should be curved when it comes to Ben Van Sumeren. But he is and has become a valuable special teams contributor. We look at Ben Van Sumeren and say we like him in special teams. We do. We'll see where his career takes him. But overall, this group has so much to prove in their own right. Everyone's battling a demon. Everyone's battling some sort of doubt that's been laid on them from somewhere, be it from the fans, be it from evaluators, other teams. All these players, all these linebackers are battling some sort of stigma that's been placed on their name. Can they come together for the ultimate goal and prove their weight in gold? Can they come together and be better than many expect them to be? Many of you ask, Tone, where does this optimism come from? Frankly, I can't say for certain where I stand with this room, if I'm being honest. I can't say for certain where I stand, even through the optimism. I'm a supporter of the Eagles. I have to be optimistic. For those of you who question why I'm optimistic, what are they showing me? Again, we're only going to deal with the tangible. We've seen flashes from Dean throughout training camp and preseason. We've seen the flashes. We've seen flashes from Devin White. We've seen flashes from Jeremiah Trotter Jr. We've seen a flash from Oren Burks. We've seen a flash or two from Zack Baun in training camp and preseason. We've seen flashes here and there from Ben Van Sumeren. If they can string those performances together and carry into the regular season, if they can stack those days, stack those reps, build that trust, that chemistry, stay healthy, working in this Vic Fangio defense, I think we have a little bit of leeway, a little sliver, a window of optimism to see through. I'm not going to rob the fans of that. If I feel like I see something, they just have to put it all together. That's what they have to do. This linebacker room has to put it together because, again, like I said, I'm uncertain, but because I'm from Philadelphia, because it's in my DNA, I have to be optimistic. We need to see this room tackle consistently and be damn good at it. And that's a question. That's a question we have to be considerate of because they didn't do too much tackling in training camp, unfortunately. That's the knock on this coaching staff and the overall direction that they're taking it in. They don't let these guys tackle too much. They haven't done that in the entire time of the Nick Sirianni era. So I don't know why people get mad about it, but it is what it is. We made it to a Super Bowl not tackling in training camp. So why should the mode change, right? But they did have those guys out there for extended periods of time. They did have those guys out there getting as many reps as possible. They had those starters out there on defense playing in the preseason all throughout, right? So again, everyone has something to prove. It's all uncertain at the end of the day. All uncertain. Devin White, what will you do? Nakobe Dean, will you guys change the narrative? Jeremiah Trotter Jr., can you live up to the name? Can you be bigger than the name? Can we trust you beyond your name? Because once again, you guys, as I said about the defensive line, as I said about the secondary, the Eagles, your Philadelphia Eagles cannot afford to go through what they went through last season. Too much money has been spent. Too much draft capital has been invested. Way too much. And quite frankly, you guys, the rent is due. Now that I've made it through my soliloquy, now that I've made it through my emotion and my passion, it's time for me to bring on the man of the hour. And I'm so grateful to this man because As always, he always makes time for me. Always does. Has taught me damn near everything I know about this game. I've been blessed to work with him on a daily basis during our time at the other company, at the other brand. And both of us are on to bigger and better and much more stable things. I much give love to a guy I consider a friend, someone I consider a mentor. You've heard him on 97.5 The Fanatic and 94 WIP. You hear him all the time, as a matter of fact, on WIP. He's what you call he's big. He's more than a pinch hitter. You know what I'm saying? I consider him a leadoff guy. That's just me. You've seen him on CBS 3, NBC Sports. You've seen him on Jacob Sports, A2D Radio. He's written for NBC Sports. He's produced for ESPN. He's also an adjunct professor at Temple University. He's a 2-time Emmy winner. Not many people got that on the resume, you guys. I'm trying to get there. The moment they start giving out Emmys to digital guys, hey, best believe I'm getting myself on that list. But without further ado, without, tooting his horn any more than I already have, I give you guys the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, Rob Ellis. Rob, how are you feeling, good sir?
Tone, keep tooting that horn, man. Keep tooting it, baby. No, I'm just kidding. It's great to see you. It's been too long, first of all. And just hearing the voice, seeing you, I miss you, my man. And it's great to be on with you. I see some of our old friends in the chat. It's good to see all you guys. I appreciate it. But yeah, thrilled to be here. Thrilled to be hanging with you. And thank God we're not talking about any more preseason games. Oh, my God. Oh,
absolutely.
It's
We're
real
here
now, man. 5 days.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I've just been, paying attention to everyone and what they've been doing, right? D-Gun and Seth and Fars, they have the new pre and post game show coming up. I see you going crazy at 94 WIP. They have you all over the place. Mm-hmm. Please tell me what's going on with this Delco World Tour you and Sealski are on, man. Tell me how that came about.
Well, it was pretty cool. It was WIP sales kind of came up with the idea, and it was pretty cool. It was good for me. It was an easy commute to wherever I had to go. And yesterday we were at the White Dog out in Glen Mills. I did a hit with them at Spazo in media, but it was really cool. It's just a way to get out, and they're going to do it in other communities as well. Just a way to represent, kind of give back a little bit and just let the people know that, hey, we appreciate you. And we know everybody's got their own. Look, think about it, Tone. Whenever we talk about Philadelphia, right? People are very prideful, of where they came from, their food. Like if they got their pizza joint, they got their cheesesteak joint.
Yes.
And if you even try to say somebody else, those are fighting words, right? So we're very prideful, passionate people who, a lot of times, although you have flown the nest a little bit, but a lot of times people are born here, live here, die here, as opposed to other areas that are very sort of transplant sort of areas. So there's a lot of pride, and it's one of the reasons why we are the way we are about our sports, man. I mean, we can talk about the Eagles, but some Giants fan or some Cowboys fan does it. It's on, man.
Yeah, especially some random national guy that has hair plugs. I don't want to go too far off the deep end here, but
yeah,
it's, again, I love seeing what you're doing on WIP.
We escaped, man. We escaped. We were like Shawshank. We swam through football fields of garbage and muck, and we're out now. We are out. As Andy Dufresne, we're out. Woo!
They tried to kill us, Rob. Yeah. They tried to kill us.
Just makes us
but we're here. We're here, and we live to tell the tall tale.
Yep.
And you're going to be on today, right? At 4 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yeah, I'll be on leading into the Phillies game. Phillies play tonight. If they win tonight, they'll take 3 out of 4 from the Braves. So I'll be on from Citizens Bank Park. If anybody's headed down to the game, section 125, 126, just say hi. We do it from the little booth there. But yeah, so I'll be on tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'm doing the morning show. And then Friday, I got Eagles post-game duties on Friday. And then every Saturday, 10 to 1 with Mike Sealski. So staying busy, man. Staying busy. And by the way, you're crushing it. I was listening to the show before I came on. You're dead on with the linebackers. I would say, like, if I'm it's not so much even the linebackers, but if I had one major question mark about this team, and I guess it applies to linebackers a little bit, but it's pass rush. It's are they going to be able to consistently get to the quarterback to take some heat off of what's, minus Slay, a very young secondary in a lot of ways. So I think that's going to be the biggest question for me is Nolan Smith the real deal? Is Bryce Huff ready to be a full-time football player? Is Josh Sweat going to get be the guy we saw 2 years ago, who's in a free agent season? Is Jordan Davis ready to play 17 games? There's so many question marks along that D line. That's the biggest thing for me.
It's interesting, Rob. I want to get your perspective on this Green Bay game because rumors are that it may be in jeopardy because of the wildfires and the smog going on out there. But regardless of that,
yeah,
when you think about the concerns, right, all the concerns that you did mention, and we're going to iron out much more because there are more than just that. I think every NFL franchise has their own fair share of question marks. You don't enter any
100%.
football season without question marks, right? But as it pertains to Philadelphia Eagles, when you think about their question marks and concerns that you may have, how do you carry that into this upcoming matchup against a quarterback who's up and coming like Jordan Love, a receiving core that's up and coming as well with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, right? And then that defense has always been pretty solid. And you got Matt LaFleur, who's an offensive mastermind really out there. Good. Some people compare him to the Sean McVays and the Kyle Shanahans in the world. This is a pretty tough opening game.
Oh yeah, I think it's a really tough opening game, and it's just there's so many. And again, this applies to both teams. So it could affect both teams. It could affect one team. The other team does a better job preparing for it. It's a weird setting. It's a long flight. The good thing is you're not there real long. You get in Wednesday, you play Friday, you're on a flight back, all that. But yeah, I mean, Tone, you look at these two teams finished in the polar opposite direction. Eagles lost 6 of 7. Embarrassing against the Bucs to close it out. Green Bay found their footing, man. Jordan Love, it took him about 4 or 5 games. Then he got comfortable. Then he showed you why he was worthy of a first-round pick. And then everything kind of took off from there. I agree with everything you said. Their coach is really good. Their defense is underrated. They only lost one offensive lineman, John Runyon Jr. He left, so they're pretty stable as far as that goes. And their young receivers, and they were really young the last couple of years, are like really coming into their own, man. So this is a true test. I think it's a shootout kind of game. I think if the Eagles offense isn't awesome in this game, Tone, they lose because I don't think early in the season the Eagles defense is going to be up to speed. I think it's going to take them a little while. I think they can get serviceable, but I think early they're going to struggle, and this is not a good team to come in with a defense with a lot of uncertainty.
Are you buying the Jordan Love fest? And before you say anything, here's my perspective. I like what Jordan Love has done. He's trending in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
They gave him the money. And obviously Green Bay was kind of on a different clock because he didn't start the first few years, and their situation is a little different, a little unique. But for me, at least, here's my perspective. Mm-hmm. Jordan Love kind of struggled the first half of the season, then figured it out on the back end. Had a strong playoff performance against the Cowboys. That San Fran game, they pushed San Fran to the brink. Ultimately ended up losing the game. They definitely go into the offseason with some sort of confidence and reassurance that our quarterback is legit. But again, I want to put the same pressure on him that they put on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts gave you a whole season of greatness. He made it to a Super Bowl, was an all-pro, 2-time Pro Bowler, yet they still question this man's resume and say he hasn't done enough, or they say, he's given us so many different seasons. Well, I can say the same for Jordan Love. He's really only giving you 9 games of true masterful quarterback play. So how do I know what he really is?
That's fair. I mean, look, we all know it's a league of adjustments, and these defensive coordinators can adjust. I think the one of the things you can differentiate Jalen last year and kind of coming back to earth a little bit with Jordan Love is I think Jalen had awful coaching. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him. Believe me, Jalen, you can't turn it over 19 times. That's on Jalen. But I think, the whole experiment that they went with last year on both sides of the ball, the coordinators weren't up to speed. I don't know that I could apply that to Green Bay. Especially with LaFleur being so involved in the offense, I just think he's going to help his quarterback counter some of the things that other teams are doing where Jalen didn't have that same luxury. Unfortunately, I think he has it this year with Kellen Moore, but I don't think he had it last year. So I think that's one of the areas that Jordan Love may have an advantage. It's not even necessarily Jalen's fault, but I think Jordan Love is going to have better coaching in his sort of second year of coming out, his coming out party second year than Jalen had. But no, fair question, man. I mean, coaching can only do so much. You're going to see different things on the field that maybe you didn't anticipate, and that's how we're going to have to see. He's going against an old dog, man. Vic Fangio's seen it all. He's thrown everything at opposing offenses and opposing quarterbacks. That little cat and mouse game is going to be really interesting to see what happens, how the Eagles look to play this thing, man, because Vic is not typically a very aggressive guy Eagles fans aren't going to like this, but he's not a guy who's going to blitz a ton. Maybe he feels like I have some uncertainty on this defensive line. I got to gamble a little bit more. The other thing I would say is Devin White's a pretty good pass rusher. So maybe you see him a little bit more in that aspect against this team. The other thing with Green Bay is, man, they got Josh Jacobs now. You forget that.
Yes
dude. So
yes,
there's a lot of weaponry there with that team. They got speed. They got a tough runner. They have a pretty good offensive line, a good coordinator. I'm with you, man. I think that the biggest thing for me is for the Eagles, if you can get established offensively early in this game and make it a situation where Green Bay's got to answer.
You got to score first.
Yeah, as opposed to playing from behind and chasing your third and longs and all that kind of stuff. If you can wipe that out and all of a sudden punch them in the mouth right away in this thing, I think that's the Eagles game. I think that's what has to happen Friday.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Pivoting away from the game, right? I want to get a little bit into the way the roster's been constructed. What was your perspective when the initial 53-man roster came out, and just what's your overall perspective on the way this roster is constructed now? And were there any cuts or additions that, quite frankly, took you by surprise?
Not really, to be honest with you. Bradbury, we all debated that, and now he's hurt for 8 weeks. I think what they did, I think the whole Bradbury experiment was trying to wait it out to see if somebody had an injury. And I think that was going to apply to the beginning of the season too. And unfortunately, that's all out the window. But I mean, really, other than that, one of the biggest takeaways for me, and I don't even know if this is answering your question as far as the roster, but so I'm not really shocked, but by all accounts, and we saw him play a little bit because the defense played a little bit in the preseason. It looks like they really got it right with the first round pick. I think Quinyon Mitchell's the real deal. And I think Vic Fangio is going to do anything he can to get him on the field, whether that's in the slot, whether that's on the outside, and, yet to be determined. I'm guessing it's probably Isaiah Rodgers, with the experience, but he's too good not to have on the field at some point. So I think he's going to be out there, which is great for me. He went against two of the best in the game every single day in practice with AJ and Devontae. And by all accounts, zero fear. Most guys, you know how it is, Tone. You're done mentally before you even step on the field because you're like, oh my God, I'm going against Justin Jefferson, man. This thing's over. Right. I was in college a minute ago, and I don't think that's there. So he's going to be really good for them. It's a shame that Cooper DeJean got hurt because I don't think we're going to see him for a little bit. The one other thing that they have this year too, which I think is going to be interesting. I know I'm all over the place, but
no, you're fine. Please.
I think they have good returners. I think between Isaiah Rodgers is a good returner, Covey's a good returner, Cooper DeJean's a good returner. I think they have some guys that you can throw out there that with this goofy new kickoff, which I don't know how I feel about, to be honest with you.
It looks a little weird.
Feels gimmicky, but maybe it's just because it's new. But I think whether it's the punt game or whether it's the kickoff return game, I think that could be an advantage to the Eagles where, last year it felt like, especially, this is more of a defensive issue, but everything was a long, arduous drive. Everything was 75 yards, man, because they didn't take the ball away enough last season. I think getting CJ is going to help you there. I think Quinyon Mitchell's a guy who's got a nose for the ball. I think Rodgers, we'll see it, at 34 with Slay. That's, a question mark. There's no doubt. But I think they're going to be better at taking the ball away, which is really going to change a lot of things.
Rob, it's interesting. One of the things that stood out to me about the way this roster was built, especially when the final cuts went down, was how heavy they went on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they brought in 11 DBs. Now it's 10 because Bradbury got hurt, but they brought in 11 DBs. They brought in 6 linebackers, 6 DTs, 6 edge rushers. They really went full balls to the wall on the defensive side. And it was kind of built untraditionally on the offense. You only came in with 2 tight ends. You only brought up 1 center, 5 wide receivers, right? Historically, they've always brought in 4 running backs, but they only brought in 3. Based off my perspective, it kind of seems like there was some level of quality control being exercised. I'm not just giving you a roster spot because I need to fill this position. I only want the best players on the roster, and if I can get you on waivers, I'll come back and get you. But other than that, I need the best guys on the roster. And most of those guys were on the defensive side of the ball. So I guess that leads me to my question. What does the construction of this Eagles roster say about Howie Roseman, this coaching staff, and the overall direction they're trying to take their team in?
He said it himself several times, and he actually circled back to it last week after the final cuts. He said, and it wasn't just Howie saying, I got to do a better job like Andy Reid stuff. He said, I left us a little too bare in the defensive backfield last year. That's on me. That's my fault. By the way, much love to everybody in the chat. I see all you guys, and thank you. I appreciate same feelings mutual. Thank you. Love you. But he said it himself. So I'm not surprised, Tone, if you look at the whole off season, think about the draft, how heavily it was about defense, right? I mean, heavy. Other than Shipley and Anaya Smith, whatever, it was mostly about defense. You look at the offseason, yeah, the headliner was Saquon Barkley, no doubt. But you spent on Huff. You went out and you got Devin White. They're telling you without telling you, playing these guys in the preseason on the defensive side of the ball, which they hardly ever do. They're telling you that we need help over there. We need more over there. We need more troops over there. We got to do more to get these guys prepared to play. And I think they're right. I think on paper, this is a top three, top five offense without a doubt. And I know people are worried about right guard. I get it. But like you said earlier, every team, we could sit here and pinpoint something that's not perfect. But when you have Jalen Hurts and you have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley, this team is going to – I didn't even mention Jahan Dotson. This team is going to score. The other side of the ball is where it's at, man. That's where ultimately, by the time we get to like week 12, we're going to know how far this team's capable of going. Because as much as it's an offensive league, it's hard to drop 35 every week, man. Your defense has got to come up and help you sometimes. So I think it's all about development of the defense. I don't think they're there yet, and I don't think we should panic. Let's say they give up 31 in week 1. I don't think it's panic time. I know Eagles fans will panic, but I don't think it is panic time. Right. I think it's going to take them some time, man, to get there. Think about how bad it was last year. They were a bottom 3 defense. They couldn't get to the quarterback. They couldn't create a turnover. They stunk after week 7, 8 against the run. They were getting killed all over the place. So for all of those reasons, you got to have a little bit of patience with the defense, but they should emphasize the defense, and they have emphasized the defense in terms of personnel.
You know, it's interesting. You know, you mentioned Bryce Huff, right? How he's got the money, right? And then on top of that, you move on from Hassan Reddick. Fletcher Cox retires, right? You're trying to replace essentially your 2 most productive players on defense with a guy like Bryce Huff, with hopefully whatever Nolan Smith gets you. Jalen Carter taking that next step. Jordan Davis taking that next step. Milton Williams. Moro Jomo has been the darling of training camp thus far, according to his peers, right? And you know, the first thing that comes to mind with this defense is pressure. How can we get pressure? How can we get to the quarterback? And some fans are really concerned about where the pressure is going to consistently come from. And here's been my theory about this. You know, the past couple seasons, the Eagles have relied heavily on their talent and just raw personnel to get to the quarterback, right? Hassan Reddick's going to do him. Josh Sweat's going to do him. Fletcher Cox. They've relied really heavily on the talent. And when you take it a step further, you ask yourself, what have we done schematically to get to the quarterback, right? What have we done from a coaching perspective, or like just how creative have we been in terms of getting to the quarterback? And I think we've been missing that, right? Is it fair to say that with Vic Fangio coming into the building, and it's kind of what we've seen from him throughout the preseason, right? We've seen Quinyon Mitchell come down on the blitz. We've seen other DBs come down, linebackers, right? Is it fair to say that this year with this new personnel and this new coaching staff led by Vic Fangio, is it fair to say that we're going to start to see more creativity when it comes to developing and generating a pass rush and getting to the quarterback?
Totally. 100%. I mean, I think, Tone, I think a lot of what you're going to get this year in terms of like sack totals, and I'm going to answer your question in a second, but I think it's going to be more group rather than Hassan going crazy or something like that, because I think Jalen Carter's going to get 8. I think it's going to be spread out a little bit more. Bryce Huff gets 9 or 10 or whatever. I think it's going to be spread out a little bit more, because you don't maybe have those guys who you can pencil in automatically. Fletcher's going to do his thing. Hassan Reddick's going to do his thing. You have to be more creative. You have to disguise some of your looks. You have to be more willing to take some chances. Look, I don't know how you feel. If you're being creative and you're being aggressive and you're trying to generate some things to create a turnover or get a sack or whatever, and your guy gets beat one-on-one, all right. I mean, you don't love it, but at least you understand what the mindset is. It wasn't this soft, predictable, cover your own ass sort of like defense that we saw last year, which the results were the same, but it's like, man, at least try something here. And I think too, these guys feel so freed being away from Desai and Patricia. Honestly, the guys who were still back or who were back from last year, when Brandon Graham, who's the nicest gentleman that you'll ever encounter in life, when
very
he's
unproblematic.
Yeah, when he's saying that we were poorly coached last year, believe him. Okay, this isn't some dude who just pops off to pop off and not my fault. No, when he's saying it, he wasn't doing it trying to bury anybody, but he was just being honest. Like, it's night and day what we're seeing, what we're doing out here. That has to give you a little bit of solace to feel better about what this is going to look like. I think there will be more creativity. I think Fangio, some of it's out of necessity, Tone. I think, that's one of the reasons why I think they wanted to bring in a guy like Vic Fangio, who's seen everything, who can throw the kitchen sink at you and make it work.
And when you bring in a guy like Vic Fangio, there's a clear leader. There's none of this. Sean Desai is the sock puppet, and Patricia has his hands. You know what I mean? Like, it's you knew when the moment they hired Matt Patricia at the Sean Desai, you knew, oh no, this is shaky here. Are they hedging their bet or something like that? So
yes,
when you bring in a guy like Vic Fangio, there's a clear de facto leader. There's no mistaking it. Harry Roseman, those guys, Nick Sirianni is going to get out of his way. They know who they're looking towards. And when you bring in a guy of that ilk, players look at it and they have no choice but to respect the words he says out of his mouth.
Agreed. And I think that's one of the reasons obviously you had to make a change anyway, but one of the reasons you bring in that kind of guy, and he wanted to be here, which is important. He loves Philadelphia. He's from the Scranton area, whatever. I think all those things are good. It's nice, but ultimately you got to perform and your defense has to perform. I also think, Tone, they needed, sort of a fatherly or grandfatherly figure in here to set some dudes straight. Like, I can't have Jordan Davis failing weight every week. Okay. He won't play if
he calls you out. Fangio calls you out, man.
Fangio will call you out. And you know what he's also going to do? Go sit down. And I'm going to put somebody else in there. Whereas I think last year, guys got away with stuff that they should not have gotten away with. So I think that from that standpoint too, you brought in a bit of a disciplinarian. I get it. You can't be, Bill Parcells back 1,000 years ago, and you can't be that guy, but you also can't be soft. And I think last year they got soft with these guys.
Yeah, I really couldn't agree more. Just stand on the defensive side a little bit longer. I always think that there's always that one catalyst or that one nucleus to every defense, right? I feel like if Fred Warner's not doing his job with the 49ers, their defense just doesn't work the same.
Yeah.
When Aaron Donald was on the Rams, if he's not able to do his thing, their defense just doesn't look the same, right? When you think about this Philadelphia Eagles defense as it's presently constructed, if this player does not do his job, this defense will not get to where they're supposed to be. Who's that player for you?
Jalen Carter. It's Jalen Carter all day. Really? Jalen Carter, think about how he affects the game. He's a run stopper. He's also the rare defensive tackle who can get you double-digit sacks. I know last year he fell off like everybody else fell off. I get it. But I expect, having a year under his belt with his talent, that he will be that guy, Tone. I think when we're talking about when the season ends, whenever it ends, hopefully it's in New Orleans with the Super Bowl, we're going to look back and we're going to say that he was the defensive MVP. Because, look, I think right now, part of that is there's a lot of uncertainty with this defense. But I truly believe that we're going to say that this is the guy that the difference between him being on the field and off the field is night and day for this Eagles defense. That's where I'm at. I think it's Jalen Carter. I think he's going to turn into that conversation that we have about the top 5 best defensive tackles in football. He's that good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably say Jordan Davis for the sake that his presence is going to be so crucial in run defense, and that he's going to create the one-on-ones for everyone else, right? So again, my personal opinion, but I don't think you're wrong in Jalen Carter because he's probably their best defensive player right now.
Here's where both of those guys, I'll say Carter and Davis, put them in the same category. I think they can help the linebackers so much.
Yes.
You keep them clean and allow them to make some plays. That's the thing. I mean, Devin White's got a lot riding on this year. The way he started, as great as he started in Tampa, and the way it just kind of, let's face it, he was benched at times by Ty Bowles last year.
Yes.
So he's got a lot riding on this year. Josh Sweat, he's not a linebacker, but Josh Sweat, there's a couple guys on defense. Josh Sweat is in a contract year. He's got a lot riding on this year.
Milton Williams.
Exactly right. Milton Williams is another one. But if those defensive tackles can play the way that they were drafted to play, which is a big if, all of a sudden, Nakobe Dean, who's a little bit smaller, Devin White, Zack Baun, whatever, those guys can now do their thing and use that athleticism that all three of them have. And we're going to see defensive playmakers at the linebacker position, which let's face it, we haven't seen it since TJ Edwards, when they made the mistake of letting TJ Edwards and some of the other guys go from 2 years ago.
Absolutely. Last question about the defense. We all have our fan favorite or our personal favorite guy on defense, be it if he's a big name or a small name. But I have to ask you, who's your sleeper to have a breakout 2024 season, right? Someone who's under the radar, someone who doesn't really get talked about much. Is there anybody that you just like and you see something on the defensive side? Who's that for you?
Keely Ringo.
Ooh.
Keely Ringo, man. I'm telling you, size, speed, athletic. He was 21 last year. It's hard going against grown-ass men when you're 21. I know he's only a year, but getting that year under his belt and understanding what it looks like out there. And I know he may not even be a starting outside corner right away. I could be Isaiah Rodgers. I'm telling you, Keely Ringo is an impact player with his size and his athleticism. He is the guy to keep your eye on. Like I said, I think Jalen Carter is going to be the MVP. But if I had a little bit of a sleeper guy, I would throw in there, it would be Keely Ringo for me. I think he's got all the talent in the world, man. I think this guy eventually, I think your outside guys are going to be Keely Ringo and Quinyon Mitchell. And I think you got Cooper DeJean in the slot. But I think that's who you're eventually, once Slay moves on, that's who your guys are going to be.
Yeah, I'm so glad you went there because, again, their long-term plan is Ringo and Mitchell on the outside, DeJean in the slot playing that hybrid nickel, hybrid safety role. He's that kind of player. He's going to float around. And if that works out, if that long-term plan comes to fruition and those guys turn into legit players, you're paying 3 of your top-tier defensive players or your top-tier defensive backs all on rookie deals.
Yes.
They're all on rookie deals. You're getting top-tier production and performance, and you have tremendous value. That will set the Eagles up in such a great position going forward because it would just provide you so much flexibility. We can go on and on about that part, but I want to transition to the offensive side because there was a headline that kind of came across the wire as it pertains to Jalen Hurts via your station, WIP. Yeah. And it was a pretty good conversation that he had. I think he had the conversation with, I can't remember who it was. It was in the morning.
It was John Ritchie and James Seltzer, I think.
Yes. And he spoke about how, and I'm going to put it bluntly here, and I'm paraphrasing. The organization is stunning his growth as it pertains to him developing as a quarterback, taking control of the offense, the line calls, making the hot reads and, changing things at the line of scrimmage, when it comes to the blitz. They kind of stunning his growth because he has such a legitimate guy, a future Hall of Famer in Jason Kelce up there. And look, it's kind of hard to argue against having Jason Kelce in front of you, right? I can't argue against it. But in terms of the development of the quarterback, right? If he's going to take that next step into being that elite guy, he has to have more autonomy, more control of this offense. When you heard that story come across the wire, what were some of the things that came to your mind?
All right, so I think I'll tackle it first. His intent was to praise Cam Jurgens. He started off saying, hey, Cam is really doing a good job for us. He's getting accustomed to that role. I think he's going to do a good job. So in fairness, that is how he started it. He praised Cam. Good. I think the issue after that, there's 2 things that stood out to me from it. One, as good as Kelce was, the coaches shouldn't just say to Jalen, hey, you don't have to worry about this, man. Like, scoot on, go worry about something else. That's on the coaches, first of all. That you got to prepare this guy. You knew Kelce was going to be playing forever, man. Like, I get you got to get through that year, but you're also helping further this guy's development by having him involved in some of that. Have him call it sometimes, take a series or I don't know, whatever. But it shouldn't have been, dude, you don't have to worry about this, first of all. So more bad coaching, okay? Secondly, I put a little on Jalen. Like, you also know Kelce's not going to be around forever. Likely it's going to be Cam next year, which means it's going to fall on you to a degree. Stick around, man. Stick around and learn it. Learn that part of it. Get a little bit more of a feel for it. Pick Kelce's brain. I don't know what the inner workings are of that, but I didn't like it. I'll be honest with you. And it felt a little bit like buck passing to me. Like, just a little bit like, hey, man, I know it was a mess. It wasn't me. Like, it's just a little bit. I'm not going to kill him over it. Yeah. I didn't love it. I didn't love it on 2 fronts. More on the coaching front, because you're the coach. If you want a player to do something, you have to communicate that with the player, and not just, hey, you can leave school early today. And I know that's not Jalen. He's there. He's first in, last out. But You get my point. I wanted him to be involved more, and that's on the coaches and it's on Jalen.
Yeah, and Jalen's first year as a starter in 2021, I understand it then, right? First year as a starter, I get it then.
Yeah.
But then when he has that breakout season in 2022, that should have been the moment. The moment you decided to pay this man, that should have been the moment you say, okay, now Jalen, we're going to start to hand you the keys to this offense, right? We're paying you now. We're paying you like it, so we're going to start to hand you more control of this thing. And we can't say for certain whether Jalen tried to force their hand and really get more control, but they just said, nah, you ain't got to worry about it. You got Kelsey. And then also, again, having a guy like Kelsey, it's kind of easy to just say, you know what, I'll take their word for it, because I mean, it is Jason Kelsey, right? So
you're right. In fairness, like when it's a GOAT Hall of Famer, let's be honest, most of us would be like, all right, he's kind of got it. Like,
and I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that in that moment in the Kansas City Chiefs game? I think Jalen tried to make an adjustment at the line, and Kelsey waved him off.
Yes. So when that happens, then you're kind of like, all right,
that stood out to me.
I got you.
So
fair enough.
But again, now it's like you said, it's a new era, it's a new time, and what we've been hearing about Jalen throughout training camp and preseason, that he's walking different, he's talking different. There's a different air about him. He's lighter. His teammates are just seeing a different.
I think he's in really good headspace. I do, man. I think he's in a good place. I think that. I think they've all done a good job of flushing last year. It just feels that way.
And he's an additional year away from the money.
True.
You know, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how cold-blooded you are. You go from being a 6-figure guy to being a 9-figure guy.
Yeah.
You go from,
I know.
It's not easy to balance that as a man.
No, you're right. And I think he said it himself. Like I'm prioritizing things better. I don't have to say yes to everything. I got to keep the main thing. I don't want to steal all his lines here, but like I dig in on football more than anything else. And I think that's the other thing, man. For a 24, 25-year-old, when that kind of money is presented to you,
it's tough.
Even though he's the most mature guy you'll ever see, it's still hard, man. It's
nothing
hard
prepares you for it, Rob. Nothing can prepare you for it.
Totally.
So, I just got a few more for you, Rob. Again, you give me so much time, and I really do appreciate you really chilling with me on a Sunday,
pleasure.
right? I know it's Labor Day weekend. I know you got a long day ahead of you beyond this, and I just appreciate you fitting me into your schedule, my friend. Sure. I just got a few more on the offensive side, so bear with me here. The Kellen Moore aspect of it, right? Mm-hmm. You got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith, Dallas got Saquon Barkley. You trade for John Dotson, right? Someone who is going to have his lay of the land here playing next to those guys, right? And then you got that offensive line. When you think about it from the Kellen Moore angle and what he can bring to this to this personnel grouping, how do you see this coming about? Just what's your overall expectations for the Kellen Moore effect on this offense?
All right. So one thing you heard from opposing defenses and what you heard from people who really study offenses is they were incredibly predictable last year. We know it was going to be Jalen's going to be out of shotgun. There's going to be no motion. There's going to, we could go on and on and on. The blitz pickup was like elementary level. It was pathetically bad. So what you bring is a competence. You bring someone who's willing to do something different, change it up. This thing had to be shook up. And I get Jalen doesn't want to have to change offenses every year. I understand that. I totally do. But it had to happen from last season. It was terrible. So I think the biggest difference that you're going to get here is you're going to be keeping defenses on their heels because it's not going to be predictable. The one other thing, and it seems like a little thing, but I think it's a little big thing, is if Jalen's in trouble, I don't think he's going to be as quick to take off. He's going to have a safety valve to dump it off to Saquon Barkley, and Saquon is capable of turning 3 yards into 13 yards, and all of a sudden you're either getting a first down or it's 3rd and short or whatever. You might have an option for a 4th and 1. Whereas last year, I don't know that he trusted anybody enough to dump the ball off to. I think he got into some bad habits with the blitz. I think now you're going to see him climb the pocket a little bit more, go to his secondary or his tertiary, as they say, third option. I think either one of those two things I think is going to change. I think the other thing that's going to change too with this offense is I think Kellen Moore and everybody else on the offensive side realizes we have to play to Jalen's strengths. Let's not just make this guy a statue in the pocket. I know it's football. I know there's a risk of injury. I don't want them to be stupid. I don't need him carrying 30 times, but I want Jalen to use his legs. I want the RPO to be a threat again. It felt like the RPO just went out the window last year. I want that back. Let's be smart about it, but incorporate that and do what this guy does best, not try to, stick a square peg into a round hole.
you said something really key. The fact that, don't be afraid to take your check down, right? A guy like Saquon Barkley could turn 3 yards into 13 yards, right? That's going to be, in my opinion, the real growth from Jalen Hurts, because I think Patrick Mahomes said this a while back. He speaks about how he's still learning about defenses, but you didn't really see the true development in Patrick Mahomes, in my humble opinion, until after Tyreek Hill left, where he had to rely more on the short game and the intermediate game and be a little bit more surgical, marching his way down the field, right? The Chiefs were so explosive, and you lose Tyreek Hill, and now you have to be a little bit more technical and take your time and just be patient and let things come to you and trust guys to make a play here and there. I think that's going to be the next stage in Jalen Hurts' development, because what makes Jalen Hurts so dope to me is that he truly, truly wants to be great. He wants to be challenged. He wants to see evolution. And when you read that article from ESPN, the one thing that came across to me was the fact that he was craving complexity. Yeah. He was craving the next step in his development as a quarterback and just the overall next step of the offense. Let's get the short game going. The intermediate, let's make things more complex, right? I need answers, right? And, to be in a position where the people above you just can't provide them to you, that's a scary place to be in.
It's frustrating, and I get it. And Coach Marcus points out, and good to hear from Coach Marcus. He's right. I don't think Jalen was 100% last year, so I think that played into it a little bit. But he looks a lot lighter, man. He looks good this year. So let's come out of the chute. But you're right. I think any good player wants to be coached hard. I think any good player can sniff out fraudulence or can sniff out when they're not being coached well. And as much as I think Jalen has a fondness for Brian Johnson and Nick, for that matter, he had to be frustrated, because they think about it, Tone, where were the adjustments as the season went on, either side of the ball? Where were the adjustments as they were spiraling? That's what good coaches do. Even if you don't have the requisite amount of talent, you got to be able to figure something out to put your team in the best position to succeed and to stop the bleeding. There was none of that. In fact, it just got worse. You opened up the cut more, man. Yeah. So I think with these guys, that's not going to be the case with Kellen Moore or Vic Fangio, for that matter. I think both of these guys are going to make an in-game adjustment at halftime, or, hey, they're killing us with this, or, what teams are starting to do to us? This is what we're going to do this week. And I don't think there was any of that last year. So just upgrading the coordinators is such a big, to me, piece of this thing about why this team's going to be better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I got to ask you real quick, though. The Jahan Dotson trade, I want to revisit that. When that trade came across, were you shocked? Were you excited? Were you in awe? Like, just give me your instant reaction when the Jahan Dotson news came across.
Not shocked that there was a trade. They knew they couldn't go to bat with, no disrespect, Paris Campbells of the world and some of those guys. He couldn't do it, because we saw it last year. When AJ went down, it became Devontae Smith had to do everything himself. It was awful in that Tampa game, and he was great, but there was nobody else. They knew they had to have a legitimate guy. They didn't have it. It's a very Howie move. Wait till the end. They got kind of disillusioned with him in Washington a little bit. I think it's an excellent move. Think about the quarterbacks that he had to deal with in his short time there. He had Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, just a bunch of dudes. Sam Howell. It wasn't good enough. And his numbers, here's the thing, Tone. Like, I heard people, he's Jalen Reagor. No, he's not. First of all, his numbers are okay. I'm not telling you they're great for a 16th overall pick, but they're not bad.
He was the number 3 in Washington.
Yes. Now, right. When you're behind Terry McLaurin and some of those other guys, you're not going to get as many opportunities. Same here, but here's where he really helps you. A, obviously, if somebody goes down, but B, he's got competent quarterback play. He's got a running back that's a real threat. He's got a good offensive line. I think it's a great move, to answer your question. And whatever ends up happening here, what's he got? One more year after this?
So your pick, he's still in the rookie deal. He's 2 years into the rookie deal. You have him under contract. You have his rights this season, the following season, and if you want, you could pick up the 5th-year option if you so decide to. So you have this. You can, in theory, you have this group together. In theory, 3 years at the most, 2 years at minimum, and it provides. You're set for the next.
Look at that stability.
The here.
Yeah, that's it. So it's not like you gambled on a guy in the last year of his deal to bring him in. So it was a really good trade. It also shows you they know. Look, the beauty of the Eagles is every year they're in it to win it. They're in it to win the Super Bowl. There's never a situation where it's, let's look 2 years, 3 years down the line. Man, not when you're giving your quarterback that kind of money, not when you spent on extending AJ, getting Devontae done. You're trying to win
it. Dickerson, just
right.
both of those guys.
Exactly right. You're trying to win it now. So I thought it was a great move. I think it was very necessary too. It was very necessary.
Yes. Again, Rob, I really do appreciate your time. Final question, my friend, and I'll let you go about your evening or afternoon rather. Final question. Give me your overall assessment of the current state of the NFC East, the NFC as it pertains to the contenders, and despite what the national media has been saying or the doubt that's permeating through the zeitgeist as it pertains to the Eagles, should the Eagles be taken seriously as a contender? So I know I'll give you a lot there to sink your teeth into, but NFC East, NFC, and then overall the Eagles' chances of being a contender.
All right, NFC East. I think the Eagles are the favorites. I just it feels like and I know they just locked up CD, but all the nonsense sort of swirling around with Dallas eventually is going to drop and land at some point, and it feels like it's going to be this year for me. I think they take a bit of a step back. So I don't think Dallas is going to be bad necessarily, but I don't think they're going to be great either. I think Dallas is like a 10-7 team, and it just feels like it's very combustible. Like nobody's dropped a match yet, but they're about to, and then things kind of get crazy in Dallas. So I think they take a bit of a step back. Washington's going to be better. Jaden Daniels is the real deal, and he's going to make some rookie mistakes. We all know, even the best ones do, but they're on the right track with him, and I think they have a solid coach. I think Dan Quinn's a solid coach who will get the most out of him. I don't like Josh Harris as the Sixers owner, but I will say this about Josh Harris. He's willing to spend. He tries to put the right people in place. It's more than you can say about Daniel Snyder. So I think Washington's on the come, but they're not there yet. So I think they're the third place team. I don't think the Giants are good at all. I think Malik Neighbors is good, but I don't think the Giants are good.
Yes.
So I think it's an Eagle, Cowboy, Commander, Giant division. I think the Eagles are a playoff team. I think Dallas is teetering. I don't think the other two make it. As far as the NFC goes, I think the Rams are a little bit of my surprise team. I think they're better than people think, especially if Matthew Stafford stays healthy. There's a lot of talent on that team, and I think they're well coached by Sean McVay. I think he's sort of rejuvenated. I think San Fran is still really good, really talented, but they get their fair share of issues. Ayuk's taken care of, but if Trent Williams isn't there week one, that is a critical piece of this thing. I hope people don't sleep on that, because if Trent Williams doesn't play, that's a big deal.
I would have paid him before Ayuk. Sorry, that's just my perspective.
He's the first guy I would have taken care of there. So they're still good. Detroit and Green Bay are both good.
The NFC North has gotten.
And the Bears are on the right track.
It's not going to be an easy division to win for the Packers. I know a lot of people are high on them, but they have some people to run through before they start talking about, conference championship and whatnot. The Lions, the Bears, that's not an easy situation to go up against.
No, I mean, you got Caleb Williams with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, who I love coming out of Washington. I mean, he's got some weapons now. So Chicago's getting better. They had a long way to go from the climb, but they're going to be good. The other thing, I don't think the South is good. I think Atlanta's the cream of the crop in the South. I think Atlanta's going to be good, man. They're going to sneak up on some teams. So I would still say it's San Francisco's conference to lose. Yeah. But they got to get some things straightened out there with Trent Williams for sure. So I think they're the team to beat. But I think the Eagles aren't far off. I'll tell you that. I don't think they're far off. I just think it's going to take a little while with the defense.
Off the top of your head, would you say the Eagles are what? Top 4 in the conference, top 3?
Yes, top 4. I think they're an 11-ish to 12 win team. I say 11-6, but it's a tough conference, and they got some tough games, man. When you come out of the chute, you're coming out with Green Bay, Atlanta. I mean, that's not easy. I don't think it's nowhere near as hard as last year's schedule, but it's still good schedule. It's still a pretty fair and tough schedule. So I think the Eagles are really good, but to be determined on the defensive side. If we're having this conversation, like I said, in like week 12, and we still have as many question marks on the defensive side, then I think they're a playoff team, but they're not a deep playoff team.
And I think that's very reasonable, Rob. RE, my man, I'm so grateful for you, my friend. It's
My
always great
pleasure, Tone.
talking
It's
to you.
great hanging with you, brother. Always.
Definitely, definitely. Oh, real quick, I didn't get a chance to ask. How's the family? The
The
kids.
family's
How's
great, man. Yeah, everybody's cool. How about you? How's wifey? Wifey good?
she's great. She's doing well. Does a
Good.
lot of traveling for work, but she does. She's doing great. Parents are doing
Good, man.
well. Siblings are doing great. Grandparents. Everyone's good. Everyone's good, my friend.
Keep crushing it on Chalk It Up
Def-
Sports. Hit the like button, folks.
definitely,
Please.
definitely, my friend. Listen, I
All right.
learned a lot from working with you, my friend.
Same here.
Learn how to really iron out my voice. Learn how to really, be a one man band manager. Just really build a show as well, right? Just
Yeah.
structuring the show and just planning. And I learned a lot from you, my friend. And I wouldn't be where I am without your tutelage. So
Hey, man.
I really do appreciate you.
Mutual respect, Tone. And I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody in the chat. And thanks for having me, man. I look forward to joining you again.
Definitely, Ari. Listen, you have a good rest of your afternoon. Be safe out there at Citizens Bank Park. I know this has been a tough stretch for the Phillies, but they're going to get the win today.
They're coming back. They're coming back. Yep.
All right. Take care, my friend. It's always good
See you,
talking to
Tone.
you.
All right, bud. Take care.
All right. My man, Ari, man. That's my guy. That is my guy, my OG, triple OG, man. I really do appreciate Rob for always showing love to me, always making time for me. And I really do appreciate you guys for showing love and for also being good just viewers and being wonderful hosts to Rob. This is his second time on the channel, and he's just a great man. He's a great man, family man, works hard, is always prepared, and I'm just grateful for him. So I really do appreciate you guys for locking in the way you guys have. That's pretty much our show. That's pretty much our show, you guys. And I hope you guys double back. Some of you guys that maybe came in a little bit later. Today's show is not going to be that long. It's a Sunday, and it's Labor Day weekend. And I know a lot of you guys probably got plans, right? Some of you guys probably got plans going to a cookout or a block party, or maybe going over some family's crib. Whatever you're doing, right? Maybe you got some traditions that you do with the family for Labor Day. Some of the kids are back in school. Some of the kids haven't gone back to school yet. Whatever it may be. I know this is like the final turn up weekend for the summer, and I don't want to hold you guys hostage here. So I really do appreciate you guys for locking in the way you guys did, especially on a Sunday fun day. So make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the show. Once again, I'm so grateful for all of you guys who can't necessarily watch the show when it's live, but you always double back and you watch the show whenever you get the opportunity. And also, by the way, you guys, if you guys didn't hear it already, right? Chalk It Up Sports is now officially available on not only YouTube, but now it's available on Spotify. It's available on Apple Podcast. So you can now find Chalk It Up Sports wherever you find your best podcast, right? And the shows, although they are live on YouTube, they will be uploaded within the hour on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Okay, so the moment the live stream ends, the show of that day is going to be uploaded on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts within the hour. So this is my way of trying to bless some of you guys who work with your hands, right? Maybe you can't necessarily have the phone propped up while you're at work, but you got to put it in your pocket. And sometimes YouTube doesn't always do what it's told when it's in your pocket, right? And I just want to make sure you guys have options here. You can tune in on Spotify, tune on the Apple Podcast. This is a shout out to my truckers, right? This is a shout out to all my people who do a lot of their work while they're in the car. Some of the people who work out at the gym, right? And you're trying to listen to the show. Whatever you're trying to do and you're active in your lifestyle, I want to make sure I can bless you and I can cover you on all bases. So, and also, by the way, you guys, it's not just audio on Spotify. As a matter of fact, to put it bluntly, you guys, the show is going to be available. The audio is going to be available. I'm sorry, the video, excuse me, is going to be available on Spotify. So you guys can lock in on that. You guys have options. You have versatility. And my goal is always to take care of you guys, okay? So make sure you guys support that. Continue to hit the like button. Make sure you guys give me a good rating as well. Give me a good rating on Spotify. Give me a good rating on Apple Podcasts, wherever you consume your podcasts. Give me a good rating. Give me a 5-star rating and help this thing grow beyond our greatest imagination. So I really do appreciate you guys for that. And also make sure you guys go lock in on the Chalk It Up Sports merch shop, right? We have the Apex Predator t-shirts, the oversized tees there. And you guys can go bless yourself. I have the black one on right now. And it also comes in different colors. It comes in eucalyptus. Some people call it tan. So make sure you guys bless yourself with that. Some people have already bought theirs for the football season. I know my family has bought theirs. I know my man Antonio Holmes bought his. I know Cody bought his. So just make sure you guys lock in on that whenever you get the opportunity. The links are available down below in the description. The links is also available just under the live stream as well. And you can just check my channel. It's pretty much available everywhere. So just make sure you guys go lock in on that. And hoodies of this, right? The Apex Predator Jalen Hurts hoodies will be available when the season starts. So make sure you guys bless yourself because things are going to get cold. The season will break. And I appreciate you guys for being here and supporting me the way you guys have. Well, like I always say, you guys, please smash that like button. Make sure you guys are also subscribed to the show. Check me out on Spotify. Check me out on Apple Podcasts. The content is there. Make sure you guys stay humble, stay healthy. Most importantly, stay hungry. Have a safe Labor Day weekend. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. Thank you so much to Rob Ellis, 94 WIP's Rob Ellis, the legendary Rob Ellis, the hardest working man in Philadelphia on radio, Rob Ellis. Thank you so much, my friend. And I thank you guys for treating him so well. You guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.